Welcome again to myself and Neil Shuker. I'm the founder of, well, the one who found the framework, and with me is Neil Shuker, who's particularly speaking in his role as counsellor in a senior school here in Brisbane, Australia, dealing with boys and girls, teenagers, and hey, thanks Neil again for being together and just expanding more on what you were saying before about the use of the framework in the context of this age group and boys and girls, teenagers.
And what I was saying there is the Director of Student Care, my responsibility covers a breadth of areas, and a lot of it is actually dealing with those students that the heads of years who are looking after the pastoral care at a lower level, lower end, just making sure they're keeping track of where students are at. My role ends up being with students that are struggling most, and then helping them by using the steps, primarily, things like the connect and understand, particularly helping. Obviously, it's something that I use in practice because they engage through me connecting and understanding them, but helping them to reconnect and to have understanding in where their problems are. And often their problems are social. Obviously, being teenagers, dealing with each other, the problems that they have as teenagers. I'm not dealing with the more petty issues, I guess, in terms of the problems within their little social groups, because the heads of years tend to manage and talk to them about friendship groups. But I'm dealing with some of those deeper issues of connection and understanding that students may have.
So what I'm hearing here is that you're nearly looking at the shape of the square. You're dealing with those kids who are really actually quite struggling beneath the water level in some ways, using that connection and that understanding. And particularly you emphasise that understanding, and also highlighting your role, not just in terms of direct contact with the students, with these teenagers, but also, in fact, needed on a secondary consultation basis with the actual heads of year who are in touch with them.
Definitely, and they consult with me on that a lot, because they get to a point where their time is limited, and they need someone who can work and advise them in their relationship with the students, so that they get an understanding of the student where the student's at as well.
And the use of the framework in that sort of secondary role with those other staff?
The staff, I try to break it down for them so that it's palatable for them. So they are learning the principles in terms of the cure and especially things like engaging with others. I want them to understand and appreciate the level they can go to in a pastoral care role. That I myself make sure that parents also are understanding how they engage professional help. We can provide a certain level of help, but we're a school, we're not a counselling organisation.
That's so good, isn't it, Neil? And here bringing in the pyramid, where the kid is in the middle of the pyramid. They've got family and friends, they've got school, and they've got church and also school, but also they've got other professionals around them.
That's exactly right.
Who can help.
And understanding their faith position too, where does God sit in that? So the triangle becomes very important initially in that connecting, so they understand where their connections are and where the weaknesses in their triangle are as well. But certainly, as you say, the square, I'm dealing with those students that are below the waterline, if you like. Either, and some of them are very much faith-focused, but they're still below the waterline and still struggling, and some may be actually not engaged. Maybe about 60% of it, maybe even less, maybe 20 to 30% are committed Christians, and others might be 60% might be Christians, and then others that we deal with that would say that they're non-Christian.
Okay, so it's in the context of a Christian school, and really being able to be with those not just on the right-hand side and the bottom right-hand quadrant, those are suffering but have really got followers of Jesus, but also at times with those who are on the left-hand side, maybe. And now, also I seem to recall that you not only just dealt with or were with those kids who struggled, but also some of the gifted kids as well who are really succeeding. Just briefly about that and the framework, Neil, would you like to refer to that?
The main aspects of that, of course, is they're more inquiring, and so the mind kicks in there and understanding the will and their volition and understanding of those areas of the circles that are becoming important to them, but where faith sits and how do they assimilate that. But obviously too about extending them beyond just the curriculum at the school, but life skills, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's very much life coaching in a sense.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is the importance of understanding and locating where things are, indeed in the mind, also right in the spirit and the other areas. But these are people above the water level, hey? And I guess seeking to see what they're like in the even higher up and ideally more top right-hand quadrant, God-centered flourishing.
Absolutely. And being real in that area. Understanding that you're not always going to be sitting there. You're going to be struggling on occasions. There are going to be things that will come along and challenge your faith position or your belief system in relation to things.
And I certainly find the framework, I'm very grateful, helps me to be real about things. Helps me to be real about who I am, where I am, and why I am, and make sure I've got people with me in that process.
Absolutely, and that's where the pyramid kicks back in again. That's so important, especially as helping them and their parents to establish within a community around their own pyramid, so that they understand that it's not the school that is their source and their provider, it's God, it's their pyramid, and it's how and then they can transition from school more comfortably, more appropriately.
And that's one of your big roles, isn't it, in that transition? And that's a whole other video at some stage. Neil, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure being with Neil and his role, and just observing and travelling with him and seeing how he's going in the context of a counsellor in a teenage school, high school setting. Thanks very much, Neil.
My pleasure.